Starvation is probably the greatest motivator in life. People are not going to believe me, but I bought a few thousand properties. I got lucky when I invested in the Philippines. I bought BGC early on. The Philippines is a totally different market compared to the US.
Erwin, can you tell us a little bit about your real estate background? I don't think I could do it justice.
As you know, I've lived most of my life in the US, and so most of my professional career is here in the US, right? Nobody ever wants to start in real estate. They go to college and they do something else. For myself, I started out in engineering. I went to high school in LA, I went to college in LA, ended up graduating in UCLA with a degree in computer science and electrical engineering. I love LA. Right now, not so much, but back then I really liked LA. Decided I didn't want to go to Georgia. And unfortunately, at that time, around the early 90s, I think there was not a lot of job positions for engineers like myself. The internet wasn't really up and running yet. And so I switched over to something different. Real estate was not my cup of tea, but I saw somebody, one of my friends who didn't even graduate high school, and he was making like 10 times more money than I was. Real estate around 1991, 92, I became a real estate agent and I joined him. He was working at Remax, so I decided to join Remax at that time. I think when I started, I didn't sell a thing for about 8 months, not making any money. And I had to learn, right? Starvation is probably the greatest motivator in life. When you're starving, you got to do something where you're going to have to live, right? So I did okay. I think after a few more months, I started selling some properties.
I was back in California at that time. I was in the mortgage market and I didn't have the money at the time and I didn't have the confidence to buy real estate. I've always just kind of regretted that period of my life where I didn't take advantage of that opportunity that you guys all talk so much about the '08 crash and before then and even up leading up to the '08 crash. I mean, if you got in the early 2000s, I mean, you were riding high, right? You just had to exit your properties by then. Guys like me, like I bought my first property in 2016, but I've always been trying to tap into the real estate industry since the early 2000s, trying to create startups, trying to figure out how this whole industry works, how the internet side of real estate works. And like it all kind of led me to one thing after another. And I finally made my investment in 2016. And I've been like just kind of holding my breath, waiting for that opportunity that you've had.
So there's going to be opportunities, and I keep telling this my friends, saying how they can jump in. Right? Is it too late for me? But there's opportunities all the time, and being in the market right now give you opportunities. Right? You're John Dang. You're out there mingling and networking, and people know you. Similar to myself, I'm not out there, but doing real estate for decades right now, people come to me whenever they have a problem, whenever they need to unload a property because they know that I can close it in 7 days.
You have to create your own luck. I mean, we're always going to be presented with opportunities, but if you're not ready for it and you don't have a bit of experience, you don't have a bit of confidence and you're just not ready for it, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. But like, just being in the real estate industry, just being part of it, whether you're investing or whether you're selling real estate, keeps you in the game. So you're not sitting on the sidelines.
I'll tell you one thing that I am looking at least 5 or 10% of all homes in the US are owned by corporations. Again, these are corporations and they are beholden to their investors, right? So if suddenly they said, okay, we got to unload of all of these assets, I think that will be a new catalyst for another downturn.
Can you kind of give people what your perspective of, say, the US real estate market versus the Philippines? Like, what are you seeing?
I got lucky when I invested in the Philippines. I bought BGC early on, when the condo market was there. So it was risky. I got in really early and I saw that the market was starting to really take off. Luckily, I bought a bunch of condos, which I've kept some that I can Airbnb, of course. Some of them I sold off. The Philippines is a totally different market compared to the US. Honestly, it's really difficult. It's very chaotic. It doesn't have the infrastructure that you need in order to invest wisely, right? For example, BGC or condo pre-sales. I don't know what it is in BGC right now, but I think they're selling some for 400 to 500, 100,000 pesos per square meter. And so when you look at that and you look at realtors are selling their resales for, it's about half of that. So I'm thinking, why are people going into pre-sales when they know they can buy it at the resale for half price? I don't understand it, but I believe the issue is because there's no MLS, there's no valuation uh, structure there where you can say, okay, this property is worth that because this property is worth. There's nothing.
I actually talk more about Philippines real estate market because the U.S. is already kind of set up. But here in the Philippines, I just don't find there to be a whole lot of fundamentals. And you kind of touched on the point, right? Back when you bought the condos at 150,000 pesos per square meter, well, guess what? The rents were going for I think about 1,000 pesos per square meter. Today, the prices went up to 500,000 per square meter, but the rents are still at 1,000 pesos per square meter. So there is actually no really rhyme or reason why pricing is the way it is or valuations are the way they are. It's not pegged towards rent. It's not pegged towards comparables like it's in the States.
Foreigners can't use bank financing, right? So they'll do whatever they need to in order to protect themselves. And I think escrow, title, those are the things that you need for them to have confidence to invest in the Philippines. You got to do your due diligence if you're going to buy something anywhere. In the Philippines, you got to have to be much more aware of what you're doing. And so I think that escrow is an important component in Manila. And I think once you get escrow, you can get title in here. You can get a lot of things that'll just make it a lot more structured so that people have more confidence in buying.
No, I know if I'm a foreigner buying a property in the Philippines, I definitely would like to have an added protection. Even if I have to pay a bit of money, it's just worth it. I mean, and you're buying this transaction in cash because most of the transactions are done in cash. Well, in the States, when we buy under a mortgage, the bank is actually doing a lot of the underwriting and they're not going to finance it unless all of these things are clear. What's like the biggest lesson you've learned in your real estate career?
There's never a great deal that you're waiting for to happen, right? There's always opportunities there, like literally every single day, twice a day, three times a day. My recommendation as far as an investor is know your markets, do your due diligence, and don't jump into every single opportunity because there are tons out there. You just have to put yourself out there.
What advice do you have for real estate professionals?
I do know some successful real estate agents out there, and to them, their most valuable assets is trust and networking. So the most successful agents out there know everybody. Everybody knows him, and he is the pro when it comes to whatever, when it comes to condo sales in Mega World. Again, I think it just takes reputation, and reputation needs to be earned. And that means that you just have to cut your teeth into a lot of these things.
You said everything I wanted to say. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
No, not a problem. Anytime, John.